Hi, this is a demo how to do your assignment, your practice assignment about the proportions of your face, and to learn how to place your features correctly in the right place on your face and get the shape of your head correctly. Um, we'll use some of the standard measurements of the human head, but keep in mind nobody's features are standard. So while I'll mention those, I'll also show you how I change them to match my features and get the placement. But it can be helpful as a starting point to know the standard proportions and measurements. So here we go. I have the mirror set up and I have a piece of paper here and some vine charcoal, and I can rub it off. The vine charcoal rubs off the paper well enough with a rag or whatever, and it's going to be pretty much arm's length from a mirror, any mirror. You could do this in the bathroom if you wanted with your sketch pad. You want to have a straight on view, and because it's going to look kind of robotic and stiff, but you want a very straight on view, not this way, or that way. And so I can see both ears, top of the ears line up with the eyes. And so the first thing I want to do is start with the biggest shape, which is the head shape. And we'll put that in first. The standard shape is an oval. And I'm working a bit bigger than life size. Or maybe life size or a little bit bigger. Best to do that than to work small. It's always harder drawing details and eyes and things if it's too small. So I look at that and I go, well, that's okay. That's kind of an oval. It's about, let's see, about a third again longer than it is wide. That's pretty common for people. Mine is a little bit longer oval than this. One thing you can do is, if you're having trouble drawing that, and it looked like I was having a little trouble drawing it, is you could start, it's not a bad idea to start with a nice ball shape and then just add on this sort of triangular or cone-like shape, a little blunted at the bottom. That's another way to draw it. So I'll darken that to make sure everybody can see it on the camera. So there's my head shape. All right, so the next thing I want to do is look at my head shape. That's the standard one. I'll look at mine and I'll realize, yeah, mine is, like I said, I think a wee bit longer than the standard. So I'll make a few adjustments. Maybe a little fuller there. Now, when you're drawing your head shape, some of you are going to have a problem with the hair. For one thing, I can see my head because there isn't a lot of hair. So it's easy for me to see the whole head. Some of you will have a lot of hair. You might have to hold it back to get a sense of your head shape. Or you may, it may be too much. And so you could skip that, just guess roughly what the head shape is, but then actually just draw in the hair shapes. If you have the large hair shapes, and I mean the outlines of the hair, not the actual little details and strands of hair, but the outlines of the body of hair. I'm going to indicate that real quickly here. Right about here, there is just a little bit up there, and about here on the, where it starts to bend down, I have some, now here it overlaps my shape of my head. So it's cutting in onto into the temple area there, into the cheek and sideburns area there on that side. On this side, same thing, it cuts a little bit in. So not very big hair shapes. but I'm going to put them in. But for some of you, that might be some big shapes. And what I want you to do is, really look at their size compared to the size of the head, and how much of a bite they might take out of parts of the head. And if you go thicker to thinner, you'll have to really want to get those shapes, because those are some of your big shapes that you want to really sort out and get the right size. And you can always go back in and check angles. I'm looking at some of the angles here, trying to match them up on the angles that I see when I observe. I notice actually it comes down to here, and it kind of a sharp angle in like that, right about there, now that I'm adjusting this. I wouldn't normally draw this dark, but I want you to be able to see this, what I'm doing. Okay, so other big shapes that I see in front of me here are the neck shape. This angle here is really just the jaw, outside of the jawbone here, but just inside of that is where the neck intersects. And from my view, it goes something like this. Maybe a little longer than that. And also intersecting here is another shape. We can name these shapes, and I do name them for you sometimes, collar, a neck, but really, when you really get into drawing, you just go, oh, that's just another shape. It's part of the puzzle that you're putting together here of shapes. And once you put all those shapes together, it ends up looking like, these things that we name. But it's actually not about naming things. It's just about putting shapes in. Okay, so those are all my big shapes: hair shape, head shape, neck shape, maybe some of the shoulder shape, or collar, or shirt, or whatever. Now we really start making the map. There's a line of symmetry, runs down the middle here. I'm going to make sure I'm looking straight on. I can see both ears. Ears line up with the eye. And the line of symmetry, when I do that, goes right down between the middle of my forehead and okay. And then the other line that divides things in half is the eye line horizontally. And now this is a good one to measure, because we have a preperception that the eyes are higher than they are. And it's a strong preperception, and it'll because it's there and a lot of people have it, it actually overrides your ability to measure it correctly. So you actually got to, sort of manually check it, or you might make it too high. So I'm going to manually take a measurement here and line my eye, the top of my brush with the top of my forehead, my eye, my finger is going to match up with the middle of my eye, and then I'm just going to lower down here, and voila, it's just about right on half. So I can do that here. I can kind of gauge what I think halfway point is, but there again, because there's a preperception, I could be off. No, I'm pretty good there. So there's the halfway point. I nailed it there, halfway point. So almost every drawing you do of the face should include this cross. It'll only be a perfect cross like that when you're, looking at the mirror face on. If you turn your head, of course, this line will start to move out and curve and move to the left, or curve and move to the right. If I go like this and put my head back, this line will curve. It'll go upwards, but it'll also curve. Why does it always curve when the lines turn? It's because this isn't a flat shape really. This is a curved shape, right? My head is a curved shape. It's tricky working on paper. Paper is very flat, and we're trying to indicate three-dimensional things, but we'll worry about the 3D part later. Let's just try to get things in the right place. So we said that the top of the ears line up with the middle of the eye, pretty much. Yeah, that's correct. So, and also we noticed that the hairline seems to creep in a little bit at the temples and in the cheeks. So that I actually might want to bring this in at the temple and then put in the ear. Where's the bottom of the ears go? So the ears are actually coming into the face a little bit. Okay. And the bottom of the ears line up. Well, let's go to the rest. We don't know where the bottom of the ears go yet. So let's put in the rest of our map. We're making, like I said, a map of where things are, because that's the important thing. Let's go here to the middle. This would be the bridge of the nose there. Just got charcoal on me. And I can feel on each side of the bridge of the nose, there's a bone there about that thickness. However, to find out where the eyes go, it looks to me that almost halfway between the outside edge and the middle, I could probably put a dot, something like that, to get started. I'm not sure if that's perfect, but dot there and there. And then I'll kind of rough in where I think the eye is around that. But what I'm eventually going to do here is check to make sure I have room enough for an eye space in between. It actually looks a little narrow, so I'm going to move these eye shapes out a tiny bit more. I'm not going to make them too big because I need 5 eye widths to go across here. 5 eye widths, like about 1 there, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, roughly. But like I said, everybody's different. Some people have bigger eyes. They may take up a little more of that space. Some people eyes might be farther apart than this. And I did think I did make them a little bit close together. All right, so another way to get your eyes placed well and avoid this problem that a lot of people have in the beginning, their features, just seem to float around on the face. There doesn't feel to be structure there, is right away start thinking about some of the bones. Like around my eyes, right above it, I can sense there's this bone that's part of the eye socket, and I can feel that bone heading down towards the nose, the bridge of the nose, and I know that on each side, this eye's really got to leave a little room between the edge of that bridge of the nose, which comes up and around like that, and so there we are. That's fairly proportioned. Above that bone is where my eyebrows actually are, coming down like that. Bridge of the nose. Okay. Now the nose, the standard measurement for the nose is halfway between the bridge of the nose and the bottom of the chin. I can make a little line there, but double check your own measurements to see how they might vary from the standard. Yeah, that does seem on mine about halfway. If I want, I can measure it, but I'm going to just eyeball it from now. And I'm going to since this is just a map, I'm really going to try to avoid details and just move on until all my placement looks right. And so the nose, it has a certain width up here at the bridge of the nose, and then a certain width down here at the flared nostrils. So that's usually widens, so I could probably just draw a placeholder of a rectangle, something like that for now. And then partway between the bottom of the nose and the chin, some people say about a half, some people a third. It varies on people. Half is probably too far down, too low. So a little above half, in my case, there's a line, the middle of my mouth line, So obviously it's going to look a little odd at first because it really is a map. It's not a drawing per se. And notice the width seems to line up with almost with the middle of my eyeball, about there, about there. So there's the width. And we've just about got the map done here. And if I was back here at the eye socket, so I just want to review that bit of bone there. I forgot to mention the bottom of the eye sockets right there. You can feel right the bone there goes down, and then there's that area underneath the eye, that soft skin area underneath the eye. That's also the edge. So now we got this whole eye. It looks like glasses, I guess, or something, but it's really the eye sockets. And this is really helpful to placing the eyes, is understanding how big the eye sockets are in the head, and getting those the right size, but also starting to really feel the bone structure, because we know that's how we can get a powerful figure or face, is understanding all the bones. So the good thing about once you find that the edge of that soft area and the beginning of that bone there, once you find that, you know that's the cheekbone. And you can actually feel the roundness of that cheekbone, and you see how big it is, and you can sort of feel that cheekbone where it comes in here. Great place to know, to discover, because that's where that hair comes in, and the edge of the ear. You can feel it on this side. And now we can find the bottom of the ears. Lines up with this area, probably where my upper lip would go there. That lines up with the bottom of the ear. Okay, don't want to get into any details really there. Here I'm getting a little caught up in details. I got to be careful about that. It's dangerous. But because it's just a map at this stage. Looks just like me, right? Okay, so all right, so yeah, so there's the basic map. And the good thing about that is, I might have gone a little bit long in my nose. Let me bring it up just a hair. And the good thing about finding these outer edges of the nostrils, and I might now start to indicate that, is there's a fold there that heads down this way on some of us. That's an important feature. So now we're really getting a sense of some of these surrounding forms. This is what people ignore too much. They put so much focus on these, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 features, is they don't really get a sense of these. It actually has a shape. It's kind of, I don't know, maybe like pork chop shape or something like that. In my case, because of the put in a little bit of this goatee that I have. That's something we want. All right, and like I said, I would be drawing much lighter and be able to wipe things off a little easier, but I think this is fine. You get the idea. Okay, so I'm going to just try to... So there's shapes within shapes. You could break down into some of the smaller shapes if you want. But only after you're pretty sure of where things are supposed to be. You should start doing that. Oftentimes I'll make things really fuzzy in my drawing because I'm more inclined to be able to move things around if I do that. But anyhow, out of the bridge of the nose comes, you can almost see that bone there on the bridge of the nose. It's easy. You can start putting on a few of the details if you're feeling pretty good. One important part I didn't mention here is right here on the eyebrows. They come out, and right where the eyebrows turn down on a lot of us is an important area. You could just barely see it. It's where the front of the face turns to the side of the face at the temple there. So this temple area is, you want to actually indicate that. It's a little harder to see in the shadow plane, but I can guess it's about there. I think I made my forehead a little too large. And that may have been, when I started my eyeline, maybe I was just a little low. I don't know, or just gonna, okay, so yeah, that's a map that looks pretty accurate to me. I can see little changes. You keep messing with it until, there's a little bit of shadow under the cheekbones. All this, of course, the eye sockets are often all shadowed. A little bit of shadow underneath the nose, a little bit of shadow on that bottom upper lip, and then underneath the lip. So down here, so the lighting I didn't talk about, but you're going to want to make sure you have some light from probably one side or the other side. Check your lighting if you can, so that forms have a light side and a dark side. It's so much funner to paint that way. Now, when I do the painting, I wouldn't want to do this superly perfect straight-on view. It's a little rigid. It looks robot-like. I'll probably, maybe have a slight tilt of my head, a turn one way or the other. But for practice, this straight-on view is ideal because you can really go over your measurements and do your little practice here, which I want everybody to do. Even if you're working from a photo for your portrait painting, do this practice in a mirror, because it's really helpful. The last way you can check the proportions, we did the middle right and the middle this way. It's Leonardo da Vinci's thirds, and he would take from the eyebrows to the bottom of the nose. So between the eyebrows and the bottom of the nose, that would be 1/3. And then he would take the other third, would be from the bottom of the nose to the bottom of the chin. That would be another third. And then from the top of the eyebrows to the top of the hairline would be another third. That's unique for everybody. Everybody's thirds will be a bit different. Some people might have a low hairline, real small third up here. This ends up being my largest third. My other thirds are pretty equal. And that's something that's really important. If you get those proportions right, it may actually start to look a little bit like you. Let me see. Well, there's the previous. I don't know if that shows up on the camera. My previous demo was a little bit light, so I did it over. And what else do I have here? Show you any other demos that I want, or drawings in here in this particular sketch pad. I don't think so. Yeah. Well, at any rate, that would be a great practice. You'll start to see how these shapes and how the eye sockets and the thirds, and you can check all of those things. There's directions on how to do that also on your Canvas pages.